week. Just a few more days to go, guys. It'll be Saturday. It'll be kickoff time, man. We have made it. Collective sigh has come upon us. As always, boys, I'm your boy Hirsch. With us tonight, special guest Brandon Olsen once again joining us. Brandon, how you doing?
Wonderful. It's game week. Miami gets their whole season ruined right away. I love it. I can't
He's
wait.
talking trash already. We're going to get some comments on this one. And as always, joining us, CJ the Man McCann.
What is up, guys? What's going on?
And the soon to be heading to Gainesville here in just a few days, the hype man, Wes.
It was good. I'm excited as I can be right now, man. I'm happy.
Wes is already drinking 8 to 10 bottles of water a day to get hydrated, to be out there. He's got his white shirt packed up because he does, They said wear white, Wes.
Hey.
Don't slip up wearing the Washington Commanders shirt down there.
Ooh, yeah.
I would stick out so bad.
Yeah, real bad. They might.
Like, what's that guy doing here?
Look at that Noel fan.
They might think I'm I would say Florida State fan. They might think I'm a Florida State fan.
That guy just wants both teams to lose. Look at that guy.
Guys, we got a ton to get to today. We're going to talk about the recruiting visit list. We're going to talk about the game and what our thoughts are on it, give our score prediction, and the first week of the 2024 Respect Our Decision Pick Ems will be coming your way. As we get underway, CJ tries to defend his championship.
Defend my crown.
I
know ball.
The tribal chief, CJ.
That's right. Acknowledge me.
Defend, head of the table, all your analogies, trying to defend his crown. But as always, guys, if you're checking us out on YouTube, you've already made it this far. Make sure you hit that like button for us, guys. 100 likes is the goal each and every video. Came up a little short last week. Let's try to make up for it this week. And if you're listening so far, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, guys. It helps us a ton. You know how it goes. And before we get to it, as always, guys, if you are able, you're going to get flooded with this if you're at the game. I hope so. Make sure you go out there, check out our friends at Florida Victorious. Use our code DECISION. Save 20% off your first month and help get us some more elite offensive, defensive weapons on the football team. And we're about to talk about some right now, guys. We got a commitment this week before the game, gets here. We got Nashawn Montgomery committed last weekend, man. That was a big-time pickup for us. Receiver out of Miami down there. Always good to take a wide receiver out of South Florida. 6'1", 165, 179th number ranked recruit in the composite. Another great wide receiver pickup for Billy Napier and company. He may not have got Jeremiah Smith, but he's trying to get all the other ones. I mean, Look, let's stay focused here. I mean, you've got Joshua Moore, Nashawn Montgomery, and Vernell Brown III in the class, looking to possibly take a fourth. It has to be the right guy at this point. And we got a pretty big one visiting this weekend. Dallas Wilson, 5-star wide receiver there, committed to Oregon, will be in the house. DJ Pickett, 5-star defensive back from Zephyr Hills, is also visiting, LSU commit. You got to show out in front of these guys, man. I mean, this is the opportunity to really show, look, we were building to this. We have assembled the roster that Billy Napier needed to make a difference, and this is what we're going to look like going forward. Added to that, 4-star linebacker Ty Jackson. We've talked about him several times on the show. Ty Jackson is a guy that I think if you had a really good show out this weekend, might jump on the commitment list. They're pushing really hard to get that young man. That would be a tremendous addition. A couple Auburn commits, Malik Autry, defensive lineman. Tavarius Dice, 4-star offensive tackle. Another a Georgia commit, Dontrell Glover, who's teammates with Tavarius Dice, who's also an interior offensive lineman. And the other committed to another school guy, Jaquez Carter. We talked about Jaquez Carter, obviously, a few months back. He ended up committing to Ohio State, but he'll be here as well. And just a plethora of 2026 kids. I mean, a great list coming in, including linebacker Isaiah Williams, who's heavily favored to the Gators right now. So it's imperative, once again, to look good in this ball game, man, because you've got a lot of eyes on this game nationally and obviously locally. Brandon, what you think, man? I mean, you could really make a dent in some recruiting with a good win this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, this is the game that everyone has heard for the last 9 months that, Billy Napier's basically on the way out. That's been the public and national perception of just he's on the way out. We've heard recruits go, oh, like I need to see them perform on the field, and that'll go into my decision to make sure that the coaching staff will still be there. Hell, we heard that with Jameer Grimsley in the 2024 class. That was part of it, was coaching stability. So I think that this is just that first game where you can answer the question of, is this program really on the way up? We've heard a lot about training camp and a lot about spring ball and the recruiting classes, how they've been good, even if they haven't been heavy. But now it's put up or shut up time for this coaching staff, where they feel like they're moving different. I don't know about you guys if you feel the same way, but I feel like they're moving more confident than we've seen in the past. I feel like Billy looks a lot more confident. I mean, Hayden Hansen straight up said that a lot of that's just that he has trusted a lot of guys on this roster, and I think that plays into it, and actually being a unit. It's important, especially for the in-state recruiting battles, to win this game.
Wes, what are your thoughts as far as the recruiting aspect of this game goes?
Yeah, I echo everything that Brandon said. With it's 3:30. It's a primetime game. Usually, we're used to, as Florida fans, if you've been, I don't know how everybody does listen to this podcast. We usually have a cupcake week one, like a preseason type game to get you ready, or it's a neutral site game if you're playing somebody that's of name. Maybe playing in Georgia somewhere, or maybe in Florida at somewhere else at a neutral site. But to have this game at home, week one, third year in your program, it's all about showing, like Brandon was saying, this is about putting up or shutting up. You have the swamp is going to be packed. Everybody's going to be excited. They're going to be loud. The swamp is known for being loud. To have those kids, like you said, the 2026 kids in that atmosphere, plus the guys that are going to be there from the 2025 class. You got a chance to make some headway with some guys, to just be getting caught up in the atmosphere. Not saying we're going to get any commits or anything like that, but you can get some guys trending your way for sure.
CJ, your thoughts?
No, I said last week on the show, how big this was because of, for better or worse, most of our recruiting battles have been against Miami. Well, this is a time now, your third year, to say, look, if we come out, you beat Miami, you've said, okay, well, look, we passed them. Okay, so you can stop, looking over there chasing the check, make a business decision. That we're better than Miami. You want to be on our team, you don't want to play for them. So I think that this is a great time for us to kind of take back the narrative. I think that's a lot of what this game is going to be. It's our turn to finally put this together. Brandon said that Billy's been more confident. I think he has within the program. People that I've talked to, they feel the same way because Billy knows what he has this year. I think that in his mind, in Billy's mind, and based on what a lot of us believe, this is the first time that we've really, really upgraded talent since he's been here. This team is full. There's no real big, massive holes in the depth chart. So now it's time to show what you can do as a coaching staff and impress these kids. Because, up to this point, they haven't been super impressed. I understand that. You go 6-7, you go 5-7. It doesn't look great. Now here's your turn. It's your turn to really, really show that we're back. We're ready to go. Everything's going in the right direction. Billy Napier and company aren't going anywhere. You don't have to worry about committing to a coach that isn't going to be here within the next couple of years.
Yeah, you've got to really show out for this game. I don't think it's any question. You need to win and look competent in doing it. Moving on from recruiting, we knew this was going to happen. We said it before we came on the air. The depth chart has just dropped, literally in the middle of our show. There's a couple of points of note that I want to make. The biggest is Billy just said in his press conference, we anticipate Montrell Johnson being available. If he's at the top of the depth chart when it releases, he will be playing. The depth chart released, he's at the top of the depth chart. It looks like Montrell Johnson is going to play. Now, we talked about this a little before we came on the air. This is an opportunity where Montrell can play and do the things that we know Montrell can do, the pass blocking, everything that Montrell brings, the complete package. And then you have Sanford the week after if Montreal needs to sit, which I would anticipate he probably will for the Samford game, he can rest another week after that. Brandon, what are your thoughts on Montreal being able to play for this game? As it looks at now?
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the snap count's going to look like for him, if it's more of a situational time for him. I've been saying since he got hurt, I was like, hey, I'm not going to count him in for the Miami game. Even if I'm Florida, I'm going to lie and say that he might be there. Whether or not he's going to be, just to make Miami prepare for him. Seems like he's actually going to be out there. I'll still be skeptical. I'll still be skeptical until I see him actually playing in the game. But I'm very interested to see if they use him mostly in a passing down situation. I mean, Miami's supposed to have a really good defensive line. Emphasis on supposed to have a really good defensive line. Keeping a running back in for pass protection would be vitally important. Montreal, I don't think Montreal's a great pass protector, but he's easily the best that you had on the roster last year. He's probably average across the country as far as pass protecting back. I think that having that experience will help as well. We talk about experience and continuity all offseason for this Florida Gators team that actually finally returned a lot of players. And I think Montreal's impact, even if he's 80% and he's playing mostly on passing downs, even if it's just block and release, whatever it may be, I think having him on the field helps you a ton.
Guys, a couple other things I really want to point out, and the biggest shocker to me is right tackle.
Yep.
Holy smokes, guys! As it's listed, Cameron Waits is listed as the starting right tackle over Crenshaw Dixon.
Not even an or.
Not an or. Very surprising, given that we'd heard Caden Jones was the one recently that had been pushing him at that position. CJ, what's your thoughts on that?
I really, it feels like they wouldn't make that decision if he wasn't head and shoulders the best pick for it. I don't think that if it was kind of even between him and Crenshaw Dixon, or even between him and Caden Jones, or even between him and Devin Manuel, or whoever else they wanted to try over that right tackle spot, I feel like they would go with a different guy just because Waits hadn't played in a year. Coming off the injury, didn't play last year. So I feel like they have to have some kind of supreme confidence in him. It was a guy that they brought over from, Louisiana. Was a guy that they said we're going to develop. They liked him. He was all prototypical. He was prototypical size, big kid. He got stuck playing guard in the Las Vegas Bowl, out of position. So that wasn't really, that great for him, but it also was his first game. It is what it is. So I'm curious to see what he does, but I think that they wouldn't make that decision if they didn't feel confident that he's the best person for the job. Could you still see some rotation there? Sure. I really just hope he is the guy to play right tackle, and we don't have to do a whole lot of flip-flopping on the offensive line, and we can get 5 guys that really get used to playing with each other.
Wes, what do you feel about that?
Yeah, I like it. I actually love it that he stepped up and taken that position, and I hope we don't hear from him all game. I forget that he's playing right tackle. To be serious, I honestly hope that during the game we never mention his name while he's out there. I just hope that he takes this position and doesn't give it back. CJ mentioned rotational things, and he could be right, and I got a feeling he is right, but I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that he stays there all game and does his job and swallows up whatever. Pause. I didn't mean to say it like that, but swallows up all the defensive ends that try to rush the passer there. So that was intended, but yeah, I just hope he does his job, and we talk about how good he was Sunday in the airport.
Yeah, not a whole lot of other surprises. Sharif Denson at star. I don't want to say that's a surprise, but you had, other guys there. I didn't know if Bridges might get more chance there, but it looks like he's at safety. Pup Howard looks like he's probably going to get the start at linebacker. It says or with Wingo, but I think they're going to swap that out and try to keep fresh bodies on the field there. Caleb Banks.
Like
yeah.
when he goes that situational pass rusher thing they do.
You got Justice Boone getting the start. That's great to see with Cameron James. But a lot of these guys are just because they're going to sub in a lot.
Yeah.
You're going to, that's why you always have the is these guys are going to sub when needed for different packages and whatnot. Elijah Badger is listed above Khalil Jackson on the depth chart, but you've got the there as well. I think you'll definitely, depending on the play and how much of the playbook Badger has fully digested. I mean, there may be some plays that Jackson obviously knows better, or you need that possession catch that Wes loves to talk about Jackson being that real great possession receiver when you need to hit the first down sticks or something like that. He's perfect for that kind of play. So, not a ton of surprises, but some real pleasant ones. George Gums listed the starter at Sam. CJ has been very adamant.
I told you guys that I like George Gums. I thought the guy, I understand he played tight end to start with his career. He was just coming into his own. The guy was an athletic freak. He had all the measurables. He's a combine guy. He's that kind of guy that you look at and say, wow, this dude just is a freak. I'm excited. I hope he plays his butt off. I hope he proves me right.
I'm just, and punt returner, it's got listed as Eugene Wilson as the punt returner. Kickoff return is a little weird. It's got all the running backs.
Trevor
and Badger. It's got the running backs and Badger. If Montrell's returning kicks, I'll be very, very, very surprised.
Yeah, they had Trevor doing that last year, so I'm not surprised that you might want to get Ball some touches because he's playing behind Webb and Montrell, so maybe they're trying to get Ball some extra touches like they did Trevor last year. So.
Yeah, I just wow. I'm just that right tackle thing's kind of got me for a loop. You always know there's going to be one surprise on there, and yes, fans, Damian George is listed as a starter at right guard. Love it, leave it, take it. Maybe look. They've watched him these last 4 weeks plus in practice. They've watched the alternatives in practice as well. They know who can and can't do what they need him to do. Does he get passed up during the season? Maybe. Maybe he goes out and kills it at right guard. Or just, I don't want to say kills it because I'm just setting myself up for disappointment. Maybe he does an adequate job. So, all right, guys. We're about to get to the Miami game, but before we get to the Miami game, we got something Wes had been talking about doing for a few weeks, and I just want to run through here. We've got some over and unders on the season we want to run through. And we're going to – not a whole lot, but I want – everybody's going to go around and give their opinion on the over or under. We're going to start on offense. Graham Mertz, 3,000 yards passing. Brandon?
Over.
Wes?
Over.
CJ?
Over.
I agree, over. Graham Mertz, 32 touchdowns on the season. Brandon?
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
I almost put it at 30, but I raised it just because.
I'm going to say under.
Wes?
Oh, man, this is a good one. He had 25 last year. Over.
27.
27.
27. I think it's 27.
I'm gonna go over because I think the receiver as a group is better. So I'm gonna go over.
I'm gonna go under. I think he does well. I've been a Graham Mertz supporter since day one. I think he's gonna do fine, but 32 is a lot. 32 is a good chunk of touchdown. I was the running back score. So
especially with this schedule, I forgot we don't have 3 games against Cupcakes.
Yeah, he didn't have McNeese to throw 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I'm gonna say under because I think the running back room is gonna shark a lot of those away from him. I think with all those running backs and how good we always seem to get the running touchdowns when we're down there inside the 10. It never seems to be a passing now, unless you're gonna count little shovel passes or whatever to
they do count.
to Trey. I mean that's where he'll get some back is in plays like that. All right, Montrell Johnson. Now that we know he's even going to play week 1, 1,000 yards rushing. Brandon,
I'm Gonna say under. I think that rotation will always hurt that. I think no matter what we can say about proven production behind him, Billy Napier historically has always rotated running backs. They've always done a very good job of identifying talent. I'm gonna say under just for the rotational aspect of it.
Yeah, even if we go with the 12-game schedule, that means he's playing 11 games, so that's right under
especially if he
90.
doesn't play against
Yeah,
Sanford.
so you're looking at close to 100 yards per game, and he's not going to do that.
Games against Georgia and Texas.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's under for me. I love Montrell, but like he's got too many other guys in the back. I think he probably gets somewhere around the 600, 650 yards in the season mark, but between Webb and Daniels and Baugh and Jackson, I just don't see him getting 1,000 yards.
Yeah, I'm really torn on this one because we do this every year, and every year everybody's like, "Oh yeah." I think he'll have well over 1,000 total yards from scrimmage? I don't think that'll even be close. But rushing yards, I just can't see it because if he sits versus Sanford, that's one. If you don't make the playoffs, there's no way he plays a bowl game if we make a bowl game.
That's 11 games.
Yeah, so you're down to 11 games, and I could even see him here in the beginning of the season still coming back from the knee, getting lighter carries in the first 3 to 4 weeks just to kind of make sure he doesn't put too much wear and tear on the knee.
Probably should have put that one at 800. That would have been a
no, because the fan base will still clamor for the 1,000 number. And if you put 800, everyone's going to say he's going to have over 1,000. There's reasons, you have to look at it more objectively. Remember, we did this last year when people thought both backs were going to have over 1,000 yards on the season. And we were like, no, that's ridiculous. They're going to shark from each other. All right. I feel like this one might be the easiest one. Trey Wilson, 1,000 receiving yards. Haven't had one in 20 years. Brandon.
I think I'm going to go now. I think that he's still going to get those little pop passes and stuff, and I think it's just not going to be downfield enough. Also, more mouths to feed, similar to the running back room.
That's what I was going to say, and I don't forget whose boy is it. You or CJ? Is it Hayden Hansen? Like him and Boardingham. I think they're going to eat some of those yards.
I think Boardingham is keep Boardingham in your mind.
Yeah, because
he may come up in a minute.
Not only are the receivers are going to eat, but the Badger and DK and all those other guys and Jackson, but the tight ends as well. And then you mentioned Montreal having combined maybe 1,000 yards, so the backs are going to get some as well. So I don't see him getting there. I would say we see more Kadarius Toney, Percy Harvin-esque with run plays with him in the backfield, taking handoffs like he did in that South Carolina game. So he gets combined 1,000, but not receiving.
CJ?
No, I'm going under. Again, if Ricky Pearsall couldn't get 1,000 yards, I don't think that Eugene is going to get 1,000 yards. And Ricky was close, and Ricky probably should have got 1,000 yards. But with it just, I think Eugene is so much more of a utility guy that just throwing him the football would be doing him a disservice.
Exactly.
I'm going over. That man had 63 receptions last year. I just got a feeling that they're going to, unless he gets hurt, I think they're just going to feed him. I feel like that's what's going to happen is he's just going to get fed the ball over and over and over again. But next question, Arliss Boardingham, 500 yards receiving on the season. Brandon.
Under. 500 will be top 15 amongst tight ends in the entire country.
Wow.
It's one of those things where I'm going to say under on it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But that's also a big jump to go from 280 to 500.
Yeah, but now remember, he almost didn't play at all at the beginning of the season last year, and it wasn't working real hard, and that's why. But we'll see. Wes?
I say under as well, and the reason why because of you guys' other tight end. I like the other tight end as well, and then we have, and it feels weird to say if it doesn't happen. I just feel like we have so many mouths to feed that he's not gonna be able to do it. I see maybe like 440, 450. So he's gonna have some games where he gets like 2 for 20, but he's going to have 8 for 80 one game. You know what I mean? Something like that, or 6 for 80. Let me say 6 for 80. But when he's a lot, so I don't think he gets there either. But he may have like 7 touchdowns, something like that.
I could see that. CJ?
Yeah, I'm under 2, but I'm not under by much. I'm in the 380 to 450 yards on the season for him. I just don't think he cracks 500. I do think he's at over 5 touchdowns. I think he could be the secret weapon in the red zone that we haven't had in a while. I think that's really where we should make our money with Arliss Boardingham because he is such a mismatch. That guy needs to get the ball in the end zone.
Let me rephrase this then, because I'll go under as well. Hayden Hansen and Arliss Boardingham, 750 yards combined on the season.
That's a lot.
I'm still going. I'm
still going under. Okay.
I think they get maybe to 700. That's a lot of yards.
Well, I just know Graham Mertz likes some Hayden Hansen.
Yeah, and he makes good
and
after
I said
the
that,
catch.
I've already said that. I think that kid is sneaky good. Like I really think he's one of the most underlooked guys on the team.
That should be your red zone guy. He's 6'7" 3/4.
Yeah. And a load to tackle like that. I mean, he's the great short yardage play. CJ, you still going to go under on that?
Yeah, I'm still going to go under just because, again, I think Hayden Hansen, if he gets above 200 yards for the season, I think that's a good. I think that's a good year for him. So I think I just don't think it works out. And then too, you've got Amir Jackson now.
I was just about to say that.
I mean, if you told me the whole tight end room 750 yards, okay, I can get down with that. But I'm curious to see how they use Amir Jackson. That kid is ready to go now.
He's on the depth chart.
That kid is ready to go now.
He is right below Arliss on his side of the ball.
Ain't no more cooking him. He is done. If he gets any bigger, we won't be able to build him on the bus.
Hey, side note, Hershey is doing very, very well. You might be making the playoff, guys. Just saying.
Who?
You have the offense doing very, very well.
I just know. I'm not saying that. I'm just bringing out these numbers.
I was joking.
Man, Hurst.
Well, I mean, that might mean the defense isn't doing well. That might mean the defense ain't doing real well.
If we're not in the playoffs, then that's a very bad sign with how much
So let's get to the defense. First stat: Justice Boone, 8 sacks on the season. Brandon.
Under. And I'm not trying to be a hater, but like we haven't seen Justice Boone play since 2022, and even then, his one sack? He had 1.5, and one of them was unblocked on Will Levis. It's just hard for me with no proven production.
Wes, I really put this on there for you.
It was TJ Cersei. I might have been like, maybe he gets 6, but now that's too high of a number. And ever since Boone was here, that's my boy. I'm always up him. But even when he was here at the local high school, he was a very good. He plays the run. He's more of a strong side defense end, can play the run very well. That's why I'm glad that we have him back. I think his impact, he may have a lot of tackles for loss, but he's not the type of guy that is going to generate a lot of sacks that way. I hope he does. I hope he gets like 6. I think his ceiling may be 6'5", 6, but I don't see him getting 8.
No, I mean, if you're talking, I'm going under, but if you're talking 8 sacks, if Justice Boone gets 8 sacks, we're talking about a guy who's on an all-conference list at that point. You know, that's
first team All-American.
That's a lot. I think Wes is right. I think a lot of the tackles for loss, he's going to eat up a lot of the running backs. I think he does that well, but I'm probably sitting around 4 sacks. You know, is kind of where I'm at, because it's harder now to get sacks than it ever has been. Your quarterbacks are getting the ball out faster. You've got RPOs and pop passes and all this other stuff. It's just it's even harder now to get sacks than it has been. And I just don't think that that's his strong suit. I think he's really, really good at identifying the run gap.
And there's no McNeese State, like you said before.
All right. So with that being said, total defense on the season, 30 sacks. Brandon.
Over.
Okay.
Over. You better. Yeah. If not, I will fight people. It's just as simple as that.
CJ is going to be put on the spot here in a second, and he better know why But Wes, what do you
Yeah,
think?
I'm with over too. We bet. I'm feeling exactly how Brandon feel. We better be over.
CJ, I mean,
Yeah.
you're a George Gums truther. You got to be.
Yeah,
You gotta,
I think George Gomes is going to get 30 sacks by himself.
This Saturday.
That's right. I'm going to get ready. Cam Ward
Cam
better get
holds the
ready to
ball
see
too
the
long.
dirt.
Oh my!
No, yeah, I think so. 30 sacks is a good number. I think that we should get that because we have that many guys. When you're talking about your Kelby Collins and you're talking about your TJ Cersei's and your Cam Jacksons and your Justice Boones and your George Gums and just Cam
McCray.
James and Tyreek Sapp and McCray and Shamar James and Pup Howard, we should get 30 sacks.
I agree. This has got to be the year that, and I think this is where we're going to feel the Ron Roberts effect.
I hope so.
I think he's going to scheme it and find a way to get pressures that we haven't gotten. And hopefully this is where we find the Will Harris effect as well, that our coverage is so good. Yeah, that our coverage is so good that we're getting pressure.
Can I request that you don't talk dirty on the podcast by bringing up Ron Roberts?
I saw your face. I was going to ask you off air, but
Ron Roberts is eliciting a response.
I'll die for him. I don't care.
Just saying Ron Roberts elicited a response. I mean, goodness. All right.
I saw his face.
Let's talk. We got two more. Let's move into the secondary since I brought up Will Harris. All right. I want to go one individual and then one team. Jason Marshall, 3 interceptions on the season. Brandon. Woo, now we're talking something that's actually a tough one. It's the Jason Marshall contract season.
I don't want to sound like a hater, but I'm saying under. I don't want to sound like he had none last year.
I understand that, but we know his last year was a bad year. Like, we get that. But this is like everyone's talking about how focused he is. He's got
That's fine. Show me. I'm not a benefit of the doubt guy.
I'm with you on the show me. I'm with you. Wes?
Yeah, I'm going to be smart this year. I'm going to say under. The reason I think he's going to get a lot of passes thrown his way because I think Devin Moore is going to be so good on the other side. But I don't think he has 3 in his career. So I can't, if you don't have 3 in 4 years, this is 5th year, right? If you don't have 3 in 4 years, I
don't know. He's been here a long time.
Yeah, I can't give him over that.
He's got 2.
I thought so. He didn't have 3 in his whole career, so I can't say over in 1 year.
CJ?
I can't. I have to say under because it's kind of a push. I think 3 is like the sweet spot. I can't give him 4. I could see him having 2. I think he's at least going to get 1, and 3 is a good number. But I just don't see 4 or 5. I just don't think that's going to happen. I mean, we haven't seen those numbers in a long time out of a DB. That just doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't happen a lot.
Since Tabor, I believe. Since Tabor.
Quincy Wilson.
I'm going to go under, but I think, like you said, I don't think he's going to get thrown at as much. Like, maybe early he does, but if he's as refocused as we keep hearing, and he plays like he maybe did, say, at the end in that Florida State game. I mean, he had Keon Coleman on lock at the end of the season. Like, if you can guard that guy, I don't see anybody on our schedule so far that he can't,
Bond. Isaiah Bond.
Yeah, but you got to get to that. I said you got to get to that game. I mean, Bond didn't lit up the world yet either. Like, he's good in spots. But I think this is the best tandem of corners if Devin Moore is healthy that we've had it in a while. Yeah. And even if he's not, I mean, I think Jakeem, I've raved about Jakeem and what I think Jakeem will be. So the last stat is, and this one is a hot point. Total turnovers for the defense this year, 15. I set the bar at 15 turnovers for the year. Brandon.
I'm gonna go over because I need at least 1.5 per game, and you'll be over that with that. So I'm gonna say I need at least 1.5 from you per game.
Last year was the lowest turnover total I think we've registered since Eisenhower was in office. I don't know.
Jason Marshall 3 picks the entire defense year.
I know. That's why I was like, hey, man, we're refocused. We got a new DB coach. We got Ron Roberts. Oh, got to calm down.
Hey,
Wes, what do you say? What do you say?
Yeah, for the fans who don't know, we talked about this off air. The offense took care of the ball so well last year. You would think we would be plus 20 in the turnover margin. That's the key to winning football games. Take care of the ball and generate turnovers. We did one exceptionally well on offense and did one exceptionally bad on defense by forcing turnovers. If the sacks happen, the coverage happens, that usually generates turnovers. So hopefully, we've been teaching Tillman punching the ball out. Hopefully, those deflections in the air from tip passes go our way. Usually, the number always goes back to the mean. So, since we were so horrible last year, it's time that the mean goes back to the other way for those who like analytics and numbers and stuff, and we get plus 15 or over 15.
CJ?
Yeah, I'm under. You're gonna have to show me something, man. I watched a lot of times last year where we would force a ball and have a fumble and just roll on the ground and nobody jump on it. You're gonna have to show me something. I just it's frustrating because there's a lot of times where it was a lot of games where if we got one turnover, we probably win some of those, but we didn't even get one. And it's like, man, what are you doing? At least the defense can bend a little bit there and force a turnover. But we were just bending until we broke. We weren't even forcing a turnover to help us out when they got close to the red zone. And that's the area where you really think you could generate some interceptions when it starts to get really compacted down there, but we didn't do that there either. So I'm gonna have to see something. I'm gonna have to see Will Harris, see what he's done with the DBs. They talked a lot about how they felt about Corey Raymond and him leaving and all that other jazz. And I want to see what they've got. I want to see the schemes a little better. I want to see if guys are a little more motivated. I think that I'm in show me mode on that.
I'm going over. I'm going over with confidence this year. I think you've got depth, you've got health, you've got a Ron Roberts. And I think Will Harris has got these guys energized in the secondary. I think you've got experience at all the secondary positions. Castell's not a freshman. I think you'll see him get a few. I think you'll see Asa get a few. And that's just interceptions. And then, I mean, you've got Asa's a big hitter. You've got, I think Pup might even, Pup's real good in coverage. I think you'll get some of these guys. I think you'll get more fumbles this year than you got last year, as well as interceptions. All right. Let's talk about this game, man. Let's get to this game. Brandon has already been in the trenches this week, fighting Miami fans left and right. They've called him every name from Joe Dirt to things I can't say on the air. He's taking a beating for an honest opinion, and I mean, nothing he said was really outlandish. I'm just going to keep it buck. Much has been made over who's got the better this, who's got the better that. We're not going to break it down by every single position because we'd be here forever arguing the same points that we've seen, Pate make and JD Pickell and all these other guys that have their podcasts that break this stuff down for weeks now. It's just not worth it. Brandon, who wins and why?
Florida wins. I think these teams are really close in terms of talent. I think having Cam Ward in his first game, or having all of your transfers in their first game being in the swamp, it's really tough to go into Gainesville and win. And I know that Miami fans are all they ever say is that they've got the swamp. Yeah, because it's really freaking hard to win there. And especially when you're, at least in my opinion, I think these two teams are relatively close in terms of talent. I don't care even, I know that 24/7 has some like Florida's 12th, Miami's 14th in team composite. I don't even care about that. I just mean purely based on my opinion, I think these teams are really close talent-wise, and home field advantage is going to be a deciding factor in there for me.
Bear in mind the weather for Saturday as of today, I looked at it, it was like 91, no chance of rain. It's going to be hot. Now, I get it. Miami's from Miami. They're not any stranger to Florida heat. Like, it is what it is. But, if it's a muggy day in Gainesville, a muggy day in Gainesville and a muggy day in Miami ain't the same. I live in South Georgia. CJ lives closer to Gainesville than me, and he'll tell you the swamp will be a swamp of
Ain't
swamp.
no ocean breeze down here, brother.
No, it's gonna be swamp ass all day long.
Gainesville is the hottest place I've ever been to in my life. Just because of where that stadium is at, they call it a swamp for a reason. It is in a swamp. It is muggy. It is hot. It is nasty. There's a lot of days you go in there is no breeze, no airflow. You're just sitting there sweating. In Miami, I understand they got the same humidity and all that. That's cool, but they have a breeze. There's an ocean breeze that helps a little bit. I've been to beaches. I know the difference. I can tell you right now. So if you don't think that the heat in Gainesville is going to bother these boys, you are mistaken.
Yeah, it's a real thing, and like Brandon said, man, and I heard Pate say this today. I watched his score prediction show, and even though he picked Miami to win in a field goal game, the points that Brandon just made were his exact points. Where you've got a lot of new faces on the Miami team playing in their first game. There might be a lot of talent on that team, and they may very well, in what even looks weaker now with Florida State's performance, they may very well win the first ACC championship for that team or be good enough to make it to the playoffs. I mean, they could go 10-2 with that schedule they have, because it's only technically going to get easier for them, unless Ward got hurt, and then all bets are off. But they have two very talented running backs. We're very familiar with them. But one of them, their starter, is brand new with a brand new quarterback. So, and I don't know who all watched. Something else that's come across to me is everybody talks about the helmet communication thing and all that. If you watch that Georgia Tech Florida State game, those guys had a hard time hearing what was going on. I mean, they were constantly covering their ear holes trying to hear. And that's in a neutral state. And I know it was a more Florida State driven crowd. I get that, but that's not the swamp. The crowd's not right on top of you like the swamp, causing that noise, that you're going to have to deal with there. You can say it's not a problem, but it's going to be a problem, especially if the Gators give the crowd a reason to stay in it. And that, to me, is the biggest thing. That is my biggest point, is if something goes wrong early, if you give up an early touchdown and you're down 7-0, you've got to stay. The crowd's got to stay up. They've got to realize this has got to be the year's going to slip me. Is it 21 when Bama came? When we played
21.
Yeah.
You need that crowd. Because I remember talking to Bama fans after the game that were there, and they were like, Hirsch, that's the loudest environment I have ever sat in. And we thought y'all didn't have a prayer to beat us. But you made it a game because of the swamp. I mean, Bryce was having troubles that day in the swamp. It was not easy. And I don't think Cam Ward is on that level yet. I don't know if he's going to be. I don't see anybody putting him in the conversation for the number one pick or even the first round currently. So he's a talented guy, don't get me wrong, but he has his flaws. Let's not act like he doesn't. He was 1-5 on the road last year. And don't think he played in a stadium as loud as the swamp's going to be. Wes, you're going to be there, man. What are you most looking forward to being in this for this game, man?
I want to see how loud it's going to be. You brought up the key point to me is the loudness of the swamp. If they're smart, I don't think that if you've seen teams go to Kansas City or Seattle in the NFL and try to use that communication, and you see the quarterbacks doing this, if they were smart, they wouldn't even use, because Kansas City and Seattle are very, very loud NFL stadiums. It's no comparison because you have more people and we know how loud the swamp. They're not going to be able to communicate the way they think. I think they go back old school and do hand signals and signs and stuff, because there's no way that is going to be culpable for them to have success in this game this Saturday. I don't think that's going to work. You have a lot of new guys, and I watched the all 22 of Cam Ward. I didn't watch the all 22 some of his stuff on YouTube. The kid throws um, a lot of great contested balls. Like he drops the ball in the bucket. That is something he does. So I mean, and I saw DBs with great coverage, and he just puts the ball there, and I'm like, damn. But these were his great good highlights. I didn't see the bad plays. I saw so the good thing he does is he can put the ball where he can drop it in a bucket. He's not the mobile quarterback that I thought he was. I even looked up his stats. He's not like getting 500 yards or something like that in the season. He doesn't do that. What he does is he buys time in the pocket to make plays, or he runs, if it's 3rd and 6, he runs for first downs. He's not Jaden Daniels. He's not going to break one for 80 yards or 60 yards. He's not that type of QB, but he can your back on a 3rd and 6, and everything is, the coverage is nice, and he gets 6 or 7 yards and get a first down. That is what scares me when I was watching him on film, and then I went back and looked at his stats. I think he had like 100 yards, and he really runs more on the goal line as well. Like he runs more down there to get some rushing touchdowns to buy time. I want to say he's Caleb Williams, but he buys time in the pocket to throw. He looks to throw. He's a pocket passer type dude. He's not a scrambler, not. So I'm not scared of that, of him breaking one like we saw Jaden Daniels just continue to break our backs last year. That's not his game. But I think his first experience in the swamp, that the team first experience, and then the fact that we have Graham Mertz coming back for his second year in our offense, I think I'm excited to see how we use Trey, how we use Graham. Hopefully, we pushing the ball more downfield with the receivers we have now that we have confidence in. Billy loves to use different wide receivers. We saw that when he was here with Mullen, how he rotates the receivers in. So I think we have the advantage there on a secondary, as that was the consensus strength of ours and weakness of theirs. I know we didn't want to go into depth talking about the strength versus who has what better, but their DBs were their weak point. Even by Miami fans, they all said that as well. So I think we can attack them in the air, and hopefully we can. If our line can hold up, I don't need our line to be the best line in the college football. You just need an average offensive line in football. You just need average. Just be average. Just don't on play action. Mertz on his back foot. Don't let him get hit. We love play action play. And some reason that never works for us because when he turns his head and plants, somebody's there killing him. So hopefully he's not taking those big shots like he was last year, trying to complete some passes. And maybe that's why the air yards aren't what they were. It's for him trying to push the ball down the field because he don't have the time. So I think that's what I'm excited for, man. I'm gonna call it. That's it. I'll save the rest for later.
It's their defensive line is probably the one thing that scares me the most. Yes, I respect their running back room. I absolutely do. I think our improvements on defense at linebacker and defensive line will help tremendously with that. But yes, their defensive line versus our offensive line is very much a determining factor for me as well. I think that if they're able to generate pressure, it will cause us a lot of problems. But I've also seen Graham do really well under duress for an entire football season. and as we've already said, he's got more weapons, viable weapons this year than he did last year. It was either hit Trey, throw it to Ricky, or his first look was throw it to Ricky, Trey in the flats, maybe a tight end drag. Like that was basically your 3-part plan. Hopefully we don't see any double reverse passes. Let's all just go ahead and say a prayer to the football gods that we don't see any double reverse passes.
First play of the game.
I'm going to tell you right now, that's something to me. Don't try to be cute in this game. I really just want to see us go out there and play and on it, just bully them. Don't go out there, try to be cute. Play your brand of football. I love to see some improved special teams across the board and limit the penalties. And we always seem to do that in the first game. But you've continuously seen Billy say that their whole focus has been cleaning up the penalties, cleaning up the tackling, all of that good stuff. Show me. We've said it over and over again. Show me. CJ, you got any other points you want to hit on before we give score predictions here?
No, just do the little stuff right. I think that's the main thing that's going to kill us in this game is just making sure you God forbid we don't have enough men on the field Don't let special teams hurt you. I don't care if it helps us. Just let it be neutral at least. Don't let it come out there and actively work against us. Um, I again, I understand Miami's got a pretty good defensive line. They've added some guys there. Ruben Bain is a legitimate, threat on his side. So he's going to be a guy to look out for. But again, like Hirsch said, Graham Mertz has played under pressure pretty much his whole college career from the time he was at Wisconsin until now. I mean, Wisconsin was more because of their offense because they had the man doing 12-step drops from under center. So by the time he finished dropping back there in the 1930s offense they were running, he was getting sacked. So I think that, Graham has had a second year in this program. Usually you see quarterbacks take a jump in the second season. We've talked about that with all the guys from Jay Daniels to the Joe Burrows of the world. Those guys, their second year in the program, that's when they really make that step. So I think that that's what this game hinges on. If Graham Mertz has been able to take a step forward and really become the quarterback that I think we know he can be, he showed flashes of being, and consistently can be the guy who you could say Graham Mertz can win us a lot of ball games. Where last year it was just like, we don't want Graham to lose us games. This year I want to see Graham win us some games because I think he can do it. I think that they've given him enough weapons around him. They've brought back a guy that he worked really well with. They've given him another piece at tight end. They've given him one of the better wide receivers in the portal. You've got Trey Wilson, who's a guy who's a potential All-American, All-Conference kind of player, a guy that, is a highlight reel. You give him all those weapons. You've still got a sure-handed running back. We've talked about the pieces of the offensive line. You've got a good center in Jake Slaughter, who's not going to do dumb stuff like snap the ball in the dirt, and that's important. To make sure that those little things like that don't hinder it. And I think if we do that stuff well, we're going to end up, winning the football game. I think that it just comes down to don't beat yourself. Let the crowd affect Miami. Let Miami beat themselves with a guy like Cam Ward, who, for all his great things, he does have a turnover bug. That's just one thing that he's got. You can look at it. You can be mad. You can hate it, whatever. That's just the truth of the matter. I could say the same thing about a lot of guys. That's just what it is. So in a place now, he's never played in this environment. I don't want to hear anything about Oregon or Washington or any of that garbage, whatever you want to say. Go ask Utah what they think of that compared to the Swamp, and they'll tell you. Because we have a Utah team that came in here that was better than us, that showed they were better than us, and the Swamp found a way to pull it out there. So if you're taking a team like Miami that I think is dead even, I don't think they really, really have that much of an advantage over us. And the Swamp is going to play a factor, and I think it always does. So as long as we get out of our own way, don't trip over our own feet, I think we'll be fine. I think that's the main thing, just staying out of our own way.
Yeah, beat a Utah team that won the Pac-12, by the way. That same year.
Right, a Utah team that went to a Rose Bowl. I mean, a team that finished ranked just inside the top 10.
With a much worse roster.
Right.
Top to bottom. Let's just be honest. I understand that Anthony Richardson's not walking out of that tunnel on Saturday, but let's not forget that for all his strengths, he had a lot of flaws in that game too. Like, obviously you're not going to have to account for Graham Mertz's running prowess, even though we have seen him do it, but I don't think you're going to see him do that unless it's absolutely godforsaken necessary, and don't forget, I think you will see DJ Lagway in this game at some point. And that's, we'll see how that plays out. But they're going to find a way to get Lagway on the field just so Miami has to account for what's going on. So that will be an interesting thing to keep an eye on as well. But I don't think DJ is going to play a major role in the outcome of this game by any stretch of the imagination. I do know they have some packages with him. Some speed packages, things of that nature. It'll be interesting. I'm sure it's going to be let's feel out how the ebb and flow of this game is and then decide if it's worth running him out here in this particular situation. I don't want to see these scripted, we run 2 plays and we're looking really good. Now let's pull Graham out the game to throw DJ in there and run the whole thing into the ground because it matters early in the season, especially. All right, guys, let's put all the BS behind, man. Let's put our money where our mouths are. Brandon, what's your pick for this game?
27-24 Florida. I don't think we see a shootout by any stretch. I think we probably see similar to how we see in a lot of games, especially in week one, early scores, and then it slows down a lot, and then we probably see a team score trade here and there. But yeah, for me, 27-24 is the final score prediction I got for it.
CJ?
I'm going 35-31 Florida.
Wes?
I'm going 30-24. I think we score on offense. On defense. A couple times, I think the turnovers that we've been begging for, I think we get those, and we get a scoop and score, or a pick six or something to set our offense up to get some easy scores as well.
We're all pretty much right there in the same ballpark, man. I've been at a field goal game all week long. I'm gonna up that just a tad, and make it 31-27. A whole 4-point game instead. It's gonna be tight, man. I really do believe that. Now, could it completely go on its head and not be? Sure. That a lot of that's going to depend on the crowd. I really do believe that. I believe if the crowd gets behind it and really just harasses them the whole game, I think you'll see them struggle with it. I really, really do. All right, guys. We'll see Saturday, man. I can't wait. At least we don't have to wait till 7:30, 8 o'clock to see the game. We'll be able to watch some other games in the meantime, including a few of the games on our Pick 'em from this week, guys. It's week 1, college football Pick 'ems. The reigning champ, of course, CJ. Hirsch got a little risque at the end of the season last year. It cost him a championship. Wes was never a factor because he picks Georgia to lose every single week of the season. We know how it works. But now we're going to get into it, guys. We know how this goes. Early season, the slate is kind of gross. But we've all had a chance to look over the slate. We know what it is. Brandon's our guest picker this week, so he gets the honor of going first every time. First game on the slate, UNC travels to Minnesota. Wow, what a barn burner. Brandon, who do you got in this matchup?
Something in me just I want to pick UNC. And so that's where I'm going. It's not even really like I'm going to pretend I'm super.
Well, he really teased it with them.
Yeah, I'm just
I'm going to go with the Gophers.
Yeah.
Wes.
Yeah, I'm going with I'm going with the Mac Browns, man. I'm going with Mac Brown.
This could be Mac Brown's last hurrah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think he might have been gone a few years ago. He's like Biden. I think they just uncryo freeze him and run him out there. See, CJ?
I've seen Mac Brown choke a lot of these early games away from home like this. I think they're only 2-point favorites. Give me the Gophers. I'll take the Gophers week 1, just because I don't know why. Something's telling me to take the Gophers.
Yeah, I'm going with the Tar Heels in this one. I still feel like Minnesota. I don't know. I don't feel like they're going to score enough points, and I think UNC probably will. That's kind of how that works out usually. All right. Game 2, trap game for Coach Prime. I've heard a lot of people say you never want to play a team with the Dakota in it early in the season. I heard Pat McAfee say it this weekend. North Dakota State versus Colorado at Colorado. Brandon?
I'm taking North Dakota State.
You're taking what?
I'm taking North Dakota State. I refuse to pick Colorado.
Man, Miami fans are going to be all over your ass.
Oh, no.
That's their guy, Coach Prime.
That's fine. They can keep pounding the table.
Miami or Florida State? Which one? With the Florida State? Oh, Florida State.
It don't matter. They still
Florida
like
State
him.
don't like him no more. They didn't give up on him.
Ever since Hunter Travis hit the road, they've been on him. Wes, who you taking? You taking Prime?
Yeah.
CJ?
Yeah, give me Coach Prime.
Disgusting.
I ain't gonna pick him too many times.
No. This because
I'm gonna take him too because I think he's probably gonna try to get Shador. He's going to probably get Shador to throw for 600 yards in this game just to kick off his Heisman candidacy. He's going to do. I just got a feeling he's going to try to do as much as he can to pump Shador this year. Every chance he gets.
Has a 5-7 QB ever won the Heisman?
Elway was the closest. Elway was the closest. He didn't win it, but he finished second.
That's a valid point. What? No, I can't. What was I can't remember what Couch. They had a winning record when Couch won it.
Yeah.
They went to the championship game. and they lost to Miami.
RG3 and Baylor went like 7-5.
Oh yeah, I done lost my record mind on some of these guys. It's too long ago.
Crouch lost to Miami.
Crouch, not Couch. I'm thinking of damn Kentucky guys. All right, third game on the slate: UNLV versus Houston at Houston. Brandon.
UNLV. I think Houston's just going to be terrible this year. So that's just where I stand. I just can't with Houston. I think they're going to be really bad this year. Will eventually be good. Got a good program builder there, but year one, not happening.
Wes,
I'm gonna go with the home team. I'm gonna go with Houston.
you look like Cougars.
Golly.
CJ.
Give me the Rebels go offense. Let's see what they got. Houston again is in a rough spot right now. So they're gonna have to build a few years.
Yeah, I'm going with UNLV. I think Marion's a star. I think he's going to put out his candidacy for a much better job this season. All right, fourth game on the slate. Texas, not Texas. Well, I don't know. I can't read. That's the next game.